Talking very calmly and very rationally about the history of your relationship and what's been going on. And right now, I guess, looking at you, it's sort of difficult to imagine you having a fight, in fact. You're getting sort of that involved and that distressed as you talk about the fact that you do in your relationship. So I guess I sort of maybe need to know what the fights look like. What happens for you when you get into these very distressing scenes which end up in, you feeling that you're locked into a power struggle and that this is terribly painful?
So she's asking for them to describe their fights when they're in a compounded distress, right? Mm-hmm. So we know that there's some primary emotion, there's probably secondary emotional responses to the primary emotions that are going to be expressed that represent unmet attachment.
And then usually, as I understand it, somebody will leave, probably you, Prue, you'll leave to calm things down, and then you're very distant for days after that. I guess I'd like to know, what does the fight look like?
It's really not that difficult to understand. We get into a power struggle, and I think we both try to come out ahead in it. I know there's a lot of demands on me. I'm not supposed to move anymore, not supposed to work so late, not supposed to take on a lot of projects. Prue has what she wants, I have what I want, and we struggle for that.
Well, it's more like, if I don't get the last word in on this fight, then I'm going down at the next fight. So my big thing is to, I don't think Mark understands about this.
So what patterns are emerging? Attack? Okay. All right. Let's keep watching, because attack usually happens after. Attack is temporary.
He's withdrawing and she's pursuing. She
Okay.
wants more of it.
Right.
And he's saying, I know I need to quit working less, I know I
Right.
need to. So he's withdrawing and she's pursuing
Right.
him, saying, I want you and I'm going to attack you.
Yes. So we are in most likely pursue withdrawal pattern, and we have that moves into attack when Mark gets tired of the attack.
You don't think he understands about what?
Well, how difficult it is when he's always working. And how
Actually, this is interesting. They go pursue withdraw to attack to withdraw. And then they go back to the normal pattern of pursue withdraw. So when attack doesn't work, they both withdraw. It's starting to look a little complex.
difficult it is for him to, I don't know, it's like that French course, Mark, when the baby was born. That's what's going on. It's like he's not there. It's like his career is more important, and then he comes up with the thing that he has to move, that we have to move, that I have to follow him. I mean, where do I fit into all of this?
You know that there were very good reasons for why I had to take the course when I did.
Yes, you told me that.
If I hadn't taken it then, the 6-month cycle would have been up, and I would have been left behind.
It was like a defender.
Yes, I know, but I know all of that. But that's, I don't know, it's just this moving thing. It's like your career and...
What emotions are you seeing? You're seeing the primary emotions, but what emotions are being displayed? Secondary emotions of anger, right? Okay. So the couple's displaying the secondary emotions, though you're seeing the primary emotions, which is good.
Your work and everything about what you do is more important than what I do.
So you sort of end up feeling like you don't count very much. That right? That you don't have much control in your life and you don't count very much. What counts is his career.
Yeah.
What attachment need is that? Acceptance, right? So she's already starting to interpret. You don't count very much. She's not even reflecting the story. She's reflecting the interpretation of you don't count very much. So she's starting to allude to the unattachment that are being portrayed in the secondary emotional responses. Oh dear. No, let's get through that, please.
Know anybody, and you were off at work, and
You never felt really taken care of. That's what you're saying.
no, I've never felt taken care of.
Oh, what attachment need?
Protection.
Right.
Protection.
Protection.
Right. What's it like for you, Mark, to hear your wife talking about the fact that she's felt alone
Oh, dang.
and deserted
I
and
didn't-
spent a lot of
you weren't
time
able to
trying
see
to
the
do it,
transition.
and you failed in doing
I want you to see a transition out of secondary emotion.
It's taking you off to a new city. And you don't feel that he understands that.
Well, I mean, I guess we really haven't talked about it all that much, but one of the reasons we haven't talked about it all that much is because he's so off into doing his own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like, you know, these decisions are made almost without me.
Do you think that you could try to help Mark understand right now, right here, what this feeling of being alone in this relationship has been like for you? Because the sense I get is that you're talking about it quite calmly, but the sense I get is that it's been very, very painful for you in this relationship to feel alone. Do you think that you could help him right now understand a little of what that's been like for you?
Well,
This is that moment in time where they go, we don't do this. Right? This is not normal operating procedure. So she moves her into enactment to move her into expressing her loneliness, which is going to prime hopefully a new sequence of secure attachment, right? So she's trying to interrupt the pattern by suggesting they move into enactment, but move in enactment with a specific prompt to share her aloneness, how alone she feels.
In what session is this?
This is the first session.
Oh my gosh, they're like 4 minutes.
I know, you know, all EFT tapes just show like, it's like EFT on steroids.
They're handpicked.
They're handpicked and they're being used as demonstrations,
Oh, the articles are too.
so it doesn't go this fast.
it's like with my father always moving us around.
Father always moving, attachment history.
And every time we'd make friends, and every time I'd feel settled in the family, then he'd come home and he'd just tell my mother and the kids that we were getting up and going. And it was like we didn't have any choices about it. And it was really hard for us to all pick up and leave, and I'd be in a new city and I wouldn't know anybody. It was just terrible. And that's what it feels like. It feels really like you're doing this to me rather than with me.
Like he's
So when the attachment history is brought up, when loneliness opens the door to other lonely attachment experiences, she talks about her parents dropping her off, do you think this softens him? Or makes him more rigid in his position?
Softens it.
Softens. Well, yeah, he didn't look too soft. But I think the intent is that it's softening because it's no longer you're the only one that's doing this to me. This has been done to me before, and I'm carrying this vulnerability into our scenario. So it spreads out the liability, which tends to soften the partner, right? Like, I'll come rescue you from your parents. I just don't want to come rescue you from me.
taking him off to a new city, right? And you're powerless, there's nothing you can do about it, you have to go, just like when
Do I have a
you
choice? Do I have a choice? Can I say anything about it? I don't have a choice. I mean, I know we have to move.
So there's an anger about the fact that you don't have, there's no choice presented in that for you. It's like you have to go.
Well, I
Compound
really resent
distress,
it.
protesting.
Yeah. Right. And in the new city, you feel very alone. Yeah.
Well, you know, I mean, he started the friend.
Okay, so she transitions from compound distress and validating anger, and then she goes into loneliness. So she keeps moving her from secondary emotional awareness and response to primary emotion. She keeps coming back to loneliness as a way to soften the interaction and make her more aware of her unmet attachment needs.
Of course, right away, I mean, I know he asked me and I said it was okay, but I mean, then he went off and it didn't matter that the baby was colicky. It didn't matter that I was by myself. It didn't matter that I didn't have anybody to
Attachment injury, colicky baby, by myself, off in a place where care, accessibility, responsiveness, engagement is very low, right? And need is very high. So that solidifies a pattern of, or position of attack, right? And the cycle of attack withdrawal.
talk to. I mean, all these things just didn't matter to him.
Can you help him understand what it felt like to be alone in the house with the colicky baby?
Well, it wasn't.
Boom. She drops that on him, right? She takes him back to the attachment injury. You tell him what it's like to have been alone in the room with a colicky baby. So it moves her at, well,
Very pleasant.
wasn't very pleasant.
It wasn't very pleasant.
That's all you want.
It was awful. It was a horrible feeling to be alone in the house. Like that.
Awesome response to that.
And you just don't understand. I mean, you don't understand what it's like for me. And then we would get into these fights and I felt like I was even more alone and I just wanted to go off by myself and leave. And
You felt like you didn't have anybody,
I
right?
didn't
Nobody
have
was there for you. You were taking care of the baby and nobody was. It's almost like the sense I get is that you felt like he'd taken you off to this new city where you had no control, no friends, no support, and then he'd sort of deserted you.
That's exactly the way I felt, that I was totally deserted. I was all by myself. I mean, it would have been better for me to go back and be with my family than to be in the city all by myself. At least there I would have had some support.
Right. And you did do that sometimes. You went back, right?
Yes.
To Ottawa sometimes to be with
Yes.
your family.
Well, it was the only time I felt that, you know, that I was really being cared for.
Right.
I mean, I felt like, I never felt really okay in this relationship. It's just, everything's too fast, Mark. I mean, everything's just been, you know, I feel like I've been whisked away and
You still,
plunked in a city that I don't know anybody, and you were off at work, and
you never felt really taken care of. That's what you're saying.
no, I never felt taken care of.
Right. Right. What's it like for you, Mark, to hear your wife talking about the fact that she's felt alone and deserted in this relationship? What?
She's using attachment-based primary emotional language to prime Mark's response. She does that very strategically. So if I focus in and I say, what is it like for you to hear your wife talking about feeling so alone in this relationship, so in need of your protection, feeling abandoned and betrayed, and having experienced that as a child? Tell me, what is it like to hear that? I'm narrowing his response to responding to just primary emotions and unmet attachment needs. Right? Rather than giving him the floor to respond to anything, he could just be in a state of defense and rigidity, and then lash back with anger, and which then injures her even more because I just moved her into a more softened position. Right? And so you have to block the bullet to protect the partner. So you can't set the partner up to be vulnerable and broken, and then have them turn to their partner and their partner pounce on them, or they won't go there again. And so you're protecting the partner by narrowing the question that you're giving to the other partner. Right? Tell me what is it like for your wife to be in this vulnerable position with a softer emotion, expressing her unmet attachment needs and experiences.